Arataka accepts Hanako's request to exorcise a spirit, showing her the prices and explaining that it's hard to remove a spirit entirely. Her boyfriend Taro suspects Arataka is a fraud and doesn't believe he is a real psychic. Reaching Hanako's place, a spirit shows up, shocking everyone, and Arataka tries to use salt on him, but it has no effect as it is ordinary store-bought salt. Arataka then decides to call his secret weapon, his student Mob, who comes in and defeats the spirit with ease.
Get here!
Later Arataka pays Mob, who wonders why Arataka called him for such weak spirits, but Arataka tries to explain he is too powerful and would melt everything. Mob eats dinner with his family, where he bends a spoon unconsciously, and his mother tells him that if he keeps bending them, they will replace them with his allowance. The next day, Mob goes to school, where he sees Tsubame, the girl he likes. He does badly in his math and physics classes, and after school, Arataka calls him to the station for a big job. They head out to Hanaido Tunnel, located along the old highway. The tunnel has been closed, but people keep disappearing. 30 years ago, a biker gang died, and Arataka believes the hatred from those people may be swirling around the tunnel. Arriving at the tunnel and entering, Arataka quickly runs back, asking Mob why didn't he enter. Still, Mob explains that he felt Arataka had everything under control and that the place felt scary, as he felt something from the tunnel. Entering, Mob comments that he feels the presence of spirits and that they are surrounded, and Arataka tells him to deal with the weak ones. Arataka then runs into a big spirit, mistaking him for a wrestler, but it is the boss of the biker gang. He explains that he slipped on a banana peel and crashed, resulting in his whole gang crashing and dying. He attacks Arataka, but Mob protects him. Arataka hits him with salt in his fist, but Boss doesn't feel anything. Mob then starts melting Boss, who asks them to stop, saying they were forced to attack people.
Fake. Go back to the ozone layer. We were just being forced to do this!
Mob leaves him in a degraded state, and Boss explains that there is a 100-years-old spirit down the tunnel responsible for all the deaths. Arataka doesn't believe him, but Mob feels that the creepy aura has not disappeared and decides to go and check. He faces a more prominent and vital spirit, who eats him, but using his psychic powers, Mob melts him from the inside. Mob returns to Arataka and Boss, commenting that the spirit wasn't that powerful. He gives a photo of Boss's gang to Boss, making him cry and allowing him to pass on peacefully. Heading home, Mob asks Arataka why he didn't do anything in the tunnel, and Arataka, shocked, explains that he told him he was leaving the weak spirits to him. Reigen explains to a customer that he has a digital curse from one-click porn sites, that cursed his shoulder and made him keep clicking and start performing a massage. The client didn't want to pay for such a thing, but as he ended up enjoying it, he decided to continue and wants to return later. Mob wonders if it is okay to keep living like this, but he doesn't have anything else he wants to do. The telepathy club loses a member, and Hikaru, the student council vice president, immediately arrives and informs them they need to have 5 members until Friday, otherwise, he will disband the club and give their room to a different club. Tome and everyone else start looking for a 5th member, but everyone turns them down, saying their club sounds creepy. Maeda recalls Mob wasn't in a club and calls him, and Tome almost convinces him to join. Mob calls Reigen, asking if he could be late, and as he explains, Reigen ends up arguing with Tome for stealing Mob. Reigen manages to convince Mob not to join, and before leaving, Maeda explains that he just wants to goof off, and they manage to create a paradise for themselves with this club. Tome explains that Mob is their last hope, and he agrees to think about it. Reigen and Mob head towards the Heiso Private Girls Academy dressed as girls but are stopped at the gates. The guards don't allow Reigen to enter, calling him a pervert, but don't realize that Mob is a boy and let him in. Mob goes to the roof, where he meets the clients, who explain that various supernatural phenomena have occurred and they go around looking for the spirit. Mob eventually traps him in the basketball hall, which makes the spirit angry, revealing himself and attempting to take a hostage, but Mob easily defeats him. The spirit explains that Mob feels like him and regrets that finally, he was able to have some fun in the afterlife, but Mob defeated him. Before disappearing, he asks Mob if he is living to the fullest. That night, Mob thinks about his life, and the next day, he decides to join the telepathy club. But before he fills out the form, Vice President Hikaru arrives to show the Body Improvement Club their new club room. As he sees Mob wanting to join, he starts questioning why he wants to join a club he isn't interested in and that he shouldn't allow himself to be goaded into doing things he doesn't want to do. After some thinking, Mob realizes he wants to confess to Tsubame and improve himself. He requests to join the Body Improvement Club, and they gladly accept him, shocking the Telepathy Club members. Mob starts training with the Body Improvement Club, but collapses easily. The Telepathy Club has been allowed to stay in the room as the Body Improvement Club only needed it to store its equipment. Musashi Goto brings the collapsed Mob in and asks them to look after him. As he wakes up, he explains he joined the club as he wanted to improve himself, making Tome Kurata realize he is trying to become popular but telling him he won't be able to. Mob demonstrates his power, and Tome starts asking him to help her out, looking for extraterrestrials with telepathy, but Mob declines, saying he has other things to do. He goes to Arataka, who realizes Mob is troubled with love and tells him it is understandable as even he wants to be popular. Going home, a woman stops Mob and starts guessing why he looks sad and eventually guesses that it's about love and tells him he can become popular if he goes with her. Hearing that, Mob agrees and goes to a secret religious meeting, LOL. He is brought to the scene, where he meets a classmate, Ichi Misato. The cult leader Dimple shows up, making everyone laugh, and explains that he wants to make everyone laugh and be happy. He makes one of the people on the scene put masks on Mob and another man. Ichi thinks this religion is suspicious and reveals herself to be from Salt Middle School newspaper, and thinks that he is using some hypnosis to brainwash people. But as Dimple removes the man's mask, he starts laughing, making Ichi wonder how it is possible. Ichi wants to leave, but Dimple doesn't let her go and puts a mask on her, making her start smiling and laughing. Meanwhile, Mob has also put on a mask, but it doesn't affect him, and he wants to leave. Dimple tries to convince him to stay and, in the end, challenges him to a milk drinking contest with a LOL leader, and whoever laughs first loses. Loving milk, Mob accepts, but all three leaders fail and laugh, making Dimple realize it because he was making them laugh. He then challenges Mob, but puts something in the milk, making Mob spit it out. Dimple says he laughed, but Mob denies it, and annoyed, releases psychic energy releasing everyone from the hypnosis, but Dimple manages to reapply it quickly. Dimple tries to use his psychic powers on Mob, but it still has no effect, and Mob explains that even if he wanted to, he couldn't laugh. Dimple then mocks him because he has no emotions. Because of that, he won't be able to enjoy a laugh with the one he loves or cry with her, and he will be forever alone. Realizing Mob has psychic powers, Dimple decides to get rid of him, making Mob comment that he is glad he isn't a good person, but an evil spirit. Dimple commands his people to stop Mob, and having kept his emotions back for so long, they have risen to make him reach 100%, which releases his rage.
Side him like a torrential hurricane, going past the limit. That emotion is rage.
Dimple reveals himself and attacks Mob, but none of his attacks has any effect, and he is easily defeated by Mob.
But it's time to die! What? No way!
Mob later explains what happened to Arataka and regrets that he made a whole group of people stop having fun. Still, Arataka explains that only Mob could save them due to being hyperdense and unable to laugh. At the LOL meeting, people start to return to normal and think that Mob may be the faithful messenger of God. In the morning, Mob wakes up to find a weakened Dimple greeting him in his room. Tenga and his men from Salt Middle School faced Tsuyoshi and his men from Black Vinegar Middle School. Tenga easily beats them, but they call Taruki, who then easily beats Tenga and his men. Dimple greets Mob, who smashes him into the ground to see if he is dreaming. Realizing this is the spirit from yesterday, Mob prepares to erase him, but Dimple begs Mob not to kill him and explains he has a dream of becoming a god. He wants to team up with Mob to accomplish this goal, but as Mob is not interested and prepares to kill him, Dimple begs him not to do it and promises he won't do anything bad anymore. Mob agrees, and Dimple follows him the whole day at school. Mob takes Dimple to Arataka, explaining that he is his master and he will help him decide what to do with Dimple. Dimple sees that Arataka is fake, but decides not to tell Mob. Arataka can't see Dimple and comments that he must be a really weak spirit and tells Mob to do what he wants. Ichi speaks with Ritsu, explaining what happened yesterday with Mob and that they started a psycho helmet religion looking for him, and wants to know more about his psychic powers. Still, Ritsu says that Mob's powers aren't a sideshow and then leaves. Later, Ritsu attempts to bend a spoon, but can't. On the next day, he goes to school with Mob, asking him why he doesn't use his powers more often. But Mob explains that he doesn't get opportunities and there are things he can't achieve with his powers. Dimple gets annoyed and tries to tell him he can achieve many things, but hearing that Mob wants muscles and wisdom leaves him speechless. Kanga approaches the Body Improvement Club and asks them to help them fight the Black Vinegar Middle School, but Musashi Goto refuses. Kanga sees Mob and forms a plan, sending a fake love letter to Mob, who believes it even though Dimple tells him it is fake and a guy wrote it. He sends a challenge message to Tsuyoshi from Black Vinegar, who goes to the arranged place and sees Mob, and decides to take him hostage. The Body Improvement Club gets a message, too, about Mob being taken hostage, and they rescue him, beating the Black Vinegar students with ease. The Black Vinegar Middle School students realize Mob was a landmine, but can't let the Body Improvement Club just walk away. They attempt to fight them but get easily beaten. Tsuyoshi had called Taruki, who came at that moment and told Tsuyoshi he wasn't fit to be a leader. He figures out Tenga's plan and makes him reveal himself. Taruki then attacks Body Improvement Club and Tenga and easily beats them using his psychic powers. Taruki then notices Mob, who also uses psychic powers to untie himself, and tells Taruki that he must not use his powers to fight other people.
Your psychic powers. The ones that you've been hitting them with. You should never use them for fighting.